guys, so I am Mia and I'll be giving the caring speech today. I think the most important part of caring is showing other people that you care. Even right now when I wish I could show everyone I care by giving them a hug or giving them a smile, masks and social distancing make that hard to happen. So I figured out other things to do to make sure people feel like they're cared for. Through high school, making other people feel like they're not alone and that someone cares about them was my mission. I started a program called Rise Up, where it focuses on building those supportive and caring connections so people feel like they are a part of the community. We had days where we'd give free hugs in the hall. Everyone in the school would get a little slip from someone else in the school telling them why they matter. And then we had an all-day program focused on building relationships with students and staff. All of that to make sure people know that I care and that other people care about them. Now, why do I do that? Because I know those kinds of things would make me feel good and make me feel like I'm cared for. If you care about someone, that's great. But what good does it do if you don't share that you care? Tell your friends and family that you love them. Take time to help people out. Write someone a note telling them the impact that they've had in your life. Actively listen when you have conversations with people. Just think about it. How can you make the people you care about feel like you care about them? Both the mission of Rise Up and what I want you to take away from this is to build those caring connections with people so they know that they aren't alone, they matter, and they are cared for.
My name's Allison, and today I'm going to be talking about intentional honesty. I believe being honest is important, and when in doubt, it's always best to go with telling the truth. But it's equally as important to think about the why, or your intention behind being honest, and how your honesty may be perceived by someone else. An example of this happened back in February. As an elementary education major, we have to complete practicum teaching experiences as part of my college coursework. I was in a 5th grade classroom, and I was teaching a lesson that involved students to work in groups. One girl didn't like a guy in her group, and she started complaining, saying that he was annoying, he wasn't as smart as the other group members, and that she didn't want to work with him. When I talked to her about it and brought it up, reminding her that it was disrespectful and rude, she told me she was just being honest. While she may have been honest, the intention behind her honesty was to hurt other people, or to validate why it was okay for her to say something mean. What could have been done differently, though? The girl could have explained that she and the boy didn't get along well the last time they worked on a project, and talked to him about figuring out ways to solve that problem, and not only strengthen their ability to work together, but also work on their friendship. When being honest, it's important to have the intention to use honesty to strengthen bonds and relationships, instead of using it as an excuse. It's easy to say, I was just being honest, as a reason behind hurting others' feelings, but it shouldn't be somebody's go-to response. I admit, sometimes it's hard not to rely on honesty as an excuse. Every once in a while, when I've had a rough day and I'm venting to my roommate, I catch myself saying, it's not mean, I'm just being honest, when I say something out loud that I know would hurt someone's feelings if I said it to their face. So this week, I challenge you to not only choose honesty each day, but to ask yourself the why, or the intent behind what you're telling another person. Use your honesty as a way to build connections with others, instead of using it to tear relationships apart. And with that, your next fire is that way.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellie and I'd like to welcome you to the Respect Fire. So when I think about respect, the very first thing that I think of is doing all the good you can and really treating other people the way that they want to be treated, all the different ways that you can show respect to people in your everyday life, or how your respect can be earned and lost between people. But today I'd like to talk to you about how we view respect in terms of our own thoughts and the inner dialogue that we all have. So whether you realize it or not, that little voice in the back of your head plays a lot into your daily actions. And for the most part, this is a really good thing, but sometimes not so much. So back in my sophomore year of high school, I took a class called music theory, and there was only 9 people in my class, so we all grew to be pretty good friends. In the middle of the school year, a new girl showed up at my school, and her name was Sierra. She was in the grade just below me, and she had transferred to my high school from one just across town. One of the guys in my music theory class at the time, Jonah, knew her, but they weren't exactly friends anymore. So by her second day of class, everybody knew who Sierra was, but not really for a good reason, because rumors about her were spreading faster than wildfire, and most of them had been started by my friend Jonah. During class, he told us story after story about this new girl, Sierra, how she had been arrested, that she had gotten kicked out of her old school, and that she was an all-around terrible person who had done so many bad things. But as the day went on, all of these rumors got worse and worse, and everyone was wondering how she got led into our school. I too was also intrigued by these crazy rumors about this new girl who had already built a crazy bad reputation after just one day of class. But eventually that day I got to my last period class, lifting, and I arrived to find out that I had a brand new lifting partner, and it happened to be Sierra. I introduced myself and we started talking, and it turned out that she was really, really nice. And I kept talking to her and realized that everything that Jonah had said about her and all of those rumors that had been spreading around school all day were not true at all. Everyone had been saying all of these mean things about her when they'd never even spoken to her one time. Sierra and I eventually became pretty good friends and lifting partners, but if I had let other people's opinions and claims about her cloud my thoughts, we never would have become friends in the first place. So the lesson that I learned from meeting Sarah is that everyone deserves respect before you even meet them. We can't say bad things about people that we've never met or spoken to, or spread rumors about things that we don't know are true. Letting other people cloud your thoughts about someone you don't know is disrespectful. And saying mean things about a person that you've never personally spoken to is also really disrespectful, because we can't let other people form our opinions for us. Our respect for others cannot be influenced by rumors or claims from people we know, even if they're people that we love and trust. Everyone deserves a chance. Although respect can be gained and lost, every person that you meet always deserves that basic level of respect, a clean slate in your thoughts, and an open mind. Because if you have that preconceived notion of what someone will be like and you never give them a chance to prove themselves with their actions, you're not really giving them a chance at all. By doing this, you might be missing out on becoming friends with or just getting to know a lot of really cool people. So starting now, I challenge you to challenge that voice in the back of your head. Tell that voice that you don't listen to rumors or create stereotypes. Call other people out, your friends, if they say bad things about people that they don't know. And recognize yourself when you're letting preconceived notions get in the way of respecting others. And most of all, let your own experiences with others shape your opinions of them. Thank you.
My name is Aidan, and I'm going to be giving the responsibility speech. You have a responsibility to other people. You have a responsibility to help other people and to do the core values. And you have a responsibility to do everything you can for everyone that you can. And this can be the big things, and it can be the little things. It can be as small as wearing your PPE when you're around people, and wearing a mask even when it's a little bit uncomfortable. When it's hot and sweaty and you'd really prefer not to, you have a responsibility to everyone around you to do everything you can to stop the spread of corona. And to help other people whenever you can, even if it doesn't help you, like the mask does. And the little things are often overlooked. That's why they're hard to do. That's why you think the little things aren't worth doing, because they don't have the big effects that these other large-scale changes do. But little changes lead to big effects and to greater impacts upon the rest of the world. Right. And this can be, these little effects that people do can be as small as social distancing. They can be small as self-evaluation and being honest with how you feel. And these little things that often get overlooked often make the biggest differences. And there's a lot of examples of good and bad, and one of my favorites is Menards. Menards is a great example because they really care about everyone in their store. They, as soon as you enter, they require you to wear a mask. They take as much emphasis and encourage as much social distancing as they possibly can. And even more than them, there's YCAM. We take temperatures twice a day, and we make sure we do symptoms as often twice a day as well. We make sure that at program areas you also have the face masks on, and we try to make sure we limit contacts as much as we can. And on the other example, on the other end, there is Walmart. The dreaded Walmart that doesn't really make you do anything that they don't have to. They don't make you wear a mask, and they have as few restrictions as they can to encourage your business. They're not being responsible, and they're not doing everything that they can be doing. And throughout my speech, I tried to mention all of the core values. And that's because responsibility, though very important and individual, is all-encompassing. You have responsibility to respect others, like in wearing your personal protective. You have responsibility to be honest in how you feel and self-isolate when you need to. And you have responsibility to care for everyone around you. You have responsibility to do everything you can for everyone you can. And you're responsible to do the little things that lead to great changes, even greater impacts throughout the world.
Welcome to the Council Fire. You had an opportunity to stop by and listen to different speeches given on the 4 core values here at camp: honesty, caring, respect, and responsibility. Those speeches all contain elements and personal stories about what it is to practice the 4 core values here at camp, where we believe that character is one of the most important things that we can always work to improve and make better. But here at the Council Fire, what we kind of do is we bring them together and we meld them. we turn them into a message on what it means to be a good friend. Because one of the other things that is also very important and always exists here at camp is the relationships that we build with other people. The friends that we make through working with them, through sharing time around a campfire with them, and sometimes through participating in virtual camp with them. We get opportunities to build relationships with others. Friendship has been a key piece of camp since the very beginning, all the way back in 1919. But a few years after that, camp had a new experience with friendship. At that time, Howard Crawford was the camp director. And in 1926, Howard Crawford joined YMCAs from around the world in gathering in a place called Helsingfors, Finland, also known as Helsinki, which is the capital. That year, the YMCAs of the world decided they wanted to hold a youth conference. And a youth conference meant they were bringing kids, young boys at the time, because at that time the YMCA was only for boys and men. They brought boys and men from across the world together to meet there and talk about how can we solve the world's problems. Because if you just put yourself back in that situation, you can understand there were a lot of problems. The First World War had just come to an end, 1919, and the world was still kind of figuring itself out. Germany itself was in unrest and trying to sort out what the whole war meant. The rest of Europe was still picking up the pieces. The United States was experiencing a great economic boom, but there was a lot of resentment, a lot of distrust, and a lot of issues that continued to exist below the surface. And in the context of the destruction caused by World War I, there was a big movement to try to prevent that from ever happening again. And that was in the context in which this conference took place. So as all these YMCAs gathered, they try to figure out, how do we stop this from happening again? How do we stop the millions of lives that were lost in that war? How do we stop this distrust between nations, this distrust between people? How do we bring ourselves together? And they spent days talking about it and trying to figure out, what is the wise role in all of this? And Howard Crawford was there. And at the end of it, they boiled it all down, all of their talking, all of their pontificating and trying to figure out what the best route was, and it came down to one simple thing: friendship. If we could learn to be better friends to one another, if we could learn to practice the values of friendship, then maybe the world would be a better place. It's not hard to imagine that same context with today. We can think of all of the things in the world right now that have us feeling uneasy. I'm right there with you if you have nights where you're just kind of really just feeling like out of control. You've got things like this pandemic that makes it so it's hard for us to gather, but you've got a lot of just unrest and unwillingness to sit down and talk between different groups of people in different countries around the world. It's not a whole lot different than the way in which they met in 1926 in Finland. But I believe that the answer remains very much the same, is we need to remember and relearn how to be good friends to one another. So this right here is a friendship torch, and as they left that conference in 1926, they were given friendship torches. So this became a new tradition at Y Camp, one that we still carry out today, is having a friendship torch signed by your closest friends, and something that you can relight whenever you're maybe feeling alone or ever feeling like you need that spark. You can light your friendship torch. You can light it and remember all of those people that have made an impact on you, and hopefully feel a little bit closer to the friends in your life. So I'm holding that friendship torch, as has been the tradition for quite some time here at the Trail of Five Fires. Friendship, though, looks a little bit different. I mean, we all have to admit that right now we're sitting in front of a computer, and we're not sitting here with me at Five Fires. Instead, I've got a nice chorus of birds, the occasional squirrel, a few wildflowers listening back there in the back. I hope they can hear everything. But we have a nice crowd of nature, but we don't have our friends here. And as you're probably sitting here, you're probably thinking of all of your friends that you've made through the years at family camp and how you might not be able to see them this year. That makes us sad, obviously. It makes us feel like a little bit lost for how do we get that back. But being friends from a distance is exactly what they were talking about at that conference in 1926. Because how do you bring people from other cultures, from other parts of the world together through friendship? So friendship takes a very physical form sometimes. Sometimes it's putting your arm around someone or just being the shoulder to cry on. And sitting next to someone or sharing thoughts with someone in their vicinity and right before them. And in that first person situation, that's fantastic. And you get a sense of togetherness in that. But sometimes that's not possible. We've all been there. Either we've had friends that have lived down the street or friends that lived in another town or another state or even another country. But they're still our friends, right? So how do we practice that? Well, I think it comes down to a few things. First of all, it has to come down to communication. At this time, I think I feel it as much as anyone else here, that it feels as though we might just be alone in our experience. We feel like maybe we're the only ones struggling with this. We feel like we're carrying our burden, whether it's work or family or both. We're carrying it by ourselves. But you have friends out there who want to help you carry it. You have friends that would love to hear from you, that would love to know about that. And to be honest, it also works for you. Because hearing that they're sharing that experience makes you feel a little bit less alone in a world where you don't get to sit next to people and share space and be a shoulder to cry on and give a hug so freely. So make sure to communicate. Give a phone call, send an email, send a text, a Facebook message, however you communicate with your friends. Take some time to just send a quick check-in text or give them a quick call to see how they're doing. But communication is one of the first keys. The second key is understanding that friendship is about interdependence. Interdependence meaning it's not just about you getting the benefits of friendship or about you giving all of the friendship for the benefit, all of the friendships without any benefit returning to you. It's a balance. And so understanding that you will need to pour a little bit of yourself into that relationship to keep it going. It's a lot like a flower. Flowers don't just grow during a very dry summer on their own. We're experiencing that here as we got our first rainstorm this morning and last night, which was great, but it was weeks since we'd had rain. And when we try to plant things, they don't grow without water. It's a helicopter. It's flying right overhead. It's good timing. Way down. Somehow the Trail of Five Fires is directly on your flight path. All right. Friendship is like those flowers, and it's like those plants, where part of the process is planting the seeds, but the next piece is keeping it going, watering them with your love, making sure that you're communicating, but also making sure you're pouring into those people to keep them going and to keep that friendship going, especially in a time like this, where it's much more difficult or time or energy intensive to keep those things going. So we've got communication, we've got remaining interdependent, and the last one is having grace. I think grace is one of the key pieces to being a good friend no matter what, but especially in this time when we're all dealing with unknown struggles and unknown stresses, is to have grace for those people. Maybe they don't return your phone call when you call them. Maybe you start a text conversation and suddenly they drop off and you feel like they just don't care to answer. But having grace means understanding that sometimes other people are going through things too. And it's okay. And we can forgive them for those things. Sure, we may be feeling like we're really getting into a conversation and suddenly it stops abruptly because they have to go. But that requires us to take a little moment to think about what are the things that they may be going to do. Maybe they're going to pick someone up. Maybe they're going to deal with a situation in the house. As we know, being in the house, that there's unlimited situations to deal with, whether they're pet caused, child caused, or just things you could be doing. But having the patience and the grace and the forgiveness with our friends to know at a time like this where we can't be together, that there are unknown distractions that could pull them away at any time. And the same goes for us. And so affording them the grace that we would expect for ourselves is the final piece. So again, communicating, remaining interdependent, giving and taking from that relationship in balance. And the last piece is having grace. At the end of the day, though, it's hard. Long distance friendships, it's a trying time. But remembering that through hard things, through difficulty, through the tough stuff that hurts, we grow stronger. And that strength is what will build that relationship and that friendship to be stronger at the end of the day. And will allow it to carry us through for the many years that our friendships have left to carry us with. So as you go through the rest of your quarantine and we slowly start opening our lives back up eventually, keep that in mind. That the friendships that we invest in today, even though it's hard, even though it takes an extra bit of effort, are going to be that much stronger when we get through this. And that's our job as friends. So I wish we could be singing you a song here, but you're going to have to just, I think, listen to the birds this evening, as it's very peaceful up here at Y Camp. The sun's just now setting below the tree line, so I can see again. But take some time and just reflect on the friends that you have in your life. Take some time to think about what you could do today, tomorrow, next week to help foster those relationships, so that when this is all over, we can hug each other again. And it will be that much more sweet to see our friends and tell them that we love them.